G'day guys, how you going? It is an hour, sorry, not an hour, Jesus Christ. It'd be a late preview if it was an hour out before the opening bounce at the Adelaide Oval. We're a day out before we take on Port Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval in round 12. They are third, we are eighth. We got back in last week. Hard to get a read on Port. It always is. They are the type of team that are beatable at home, although we do struggle when we're on the road, particularly historically we obviously struggle at Adelaide on this ground. But it's really hard to get a read on Port for this game. Interesting, both teams coming off 5-day breaks for a Thursday night clash. Both teams really should be pretty fresh considering it was easy kills for both last week. They travelled across to Tasmania, had a really easy win against North Melbourne, and we did the same against a pretty average Gold Coast Suns. It was almost like both teams didn't necessarily have to get out of second gear. So 5-day break's not ideal. If you're carrying a few guys who are sore, the fact that Port have the bye next week could sort of fall into their favour a little bit in that they can just say, okay, let's just get through this game, play our best possible football team and then have the week off. We don't have the week off until the Essendon game the following week. So we will get a rest shortly, but I don't know. I've got this sort of funny feeling, the fact that Marchbank was rested last week or managed, and we've got some sore blokes. I reckon Wiedering is a bit sore and Gubb's a bit sore. And yeah, I've got this funny feeling we might manage one of them. But are we brave enough to do that in such an important game? I don't think we probably are. Maybe Marchbank just comes in anyway and we don't play Carroll or we start someone else as a sub. They do go in pretty tall in their front half, Port. I've noticed that. But some of those key forwards there are quite nimble. I'll get to those matchups shortly. But yeah, I think that the positive for this game is both teams come in relatively fresh, although it is a 5-day break. So there's no concerns there. I'm looking forward to this game more than any other game we've had this year. And I'm not a huge rap for Thursday night football, but I touched on it in my review, guys, the Gold Coast win a couple of days back, that it's a perfect scenario for us. I mean, ideally, you'd love to be playing Port Adelaide at Marvel Stadium on a Thursday night or the MCG, safety of home. I mean, we smacked them here last year. That would be easy. That would be great. There's no guarantees of winning that game, but geez, it helps when you're at home, doesn't it? And that was shown last week against the Gold Coast Suns. But I think for me, this one, the challenge, and we're going to find a hell of a lot about this group of ours, or I am anyway, because 2 weeks ago we were deplorable against the Sydney Swans on the road. And look, they've beaten up on a lot of teams this year, and it's no shame. It's no shame to get your pants pulled down by the Sydney Swans at the SCG, but they're doing that even away from home. But the fact that we got off to a flyer, such a fast start in that game and looked $1 million and fell away so badly, whether, and this is the question mark for me, whether we were worked out, whether the opposition just lifted their intensity, they were down, or whether we just fucking shit the bed or got spooked because we just, I don't know, but maybe this group of ours isn't ready for that responsibility, isn't ready to go on the road and win these types of games. I mean, if we were just beaten for 4 quarters and smashed by Sydney for 4 quarters, well, you just walk away and go. But the fact that we started that game so strongly and just fell away, and it sort of just reminded me of the prelim final against Brisbane. Just got off to a flyer and everyone's up and about, and then just could not stop and just got overrun. So we get we get to go back 2 weeks after that debacle and try and do it all again against Port Adelaide. And probably a weaker opposition to Sydney, even though they're third on the ladder. I think most of us think Sydney are a better football team right here, right now. And I don't think Port Adelaide's form, although they won 4 out of their last 5, is that good. There's no reason why a good team, if we are a good team and we have any aspirations of finishing top 4, and I'm getting a bit sick and tired of this, okay, it's not the end of the world, we can still we'll wait to this part of the year, the fixture gets easier, and surely if we want to be fucking serious, because you're going to have to probably travel. The way it's falling at the moment, you're going to have to travel come finals time anyway. Surely we're capable of going to Port Adelaide and winning this game of football, and anything else but a win is completely unacceptable. That's the position we should be right here and right now, not making sort of excuses about we've had a tough fixture and we've got a few injuries still. I just think this group of ours, again, I don't believe internally they're like that. I just think we give this mob a bit of an easy out at times, particularly on the road. So I think we should put a lot of pressure on them to go across and be ultimate professionals in this game. Ultimate professionals. We were ultra professional at home against the Gold Coast Suns, and we raved about that performance and how good it was. But what does it all mean? What does it all mean? Do we want to beat up on lesser rung teams at home and be sort of flat track bullies, or do we want to translate all that, into getting on the road like fucking teams have to do? It's a national competition. Voss talks about being a more consistent and better home and away team. So in my book, there's no excuses here. We take a very, very strong lineup. Okay, so sure, there's little bits and pieces missing, but there's little bits and pieces missing for Port Adelaide as well. And I'm not accepting anything but a fucking win in this game. And if we get off to a flyer like we have done in that prelim final and against Sydney a few weeks back, and then fall away, we get spooked. This team ain't ready. It's not ready. So we need to go there and be a professional outfit and bring home the chocolates, bring home the 4 points. And I honestly believe that. Let's have a look at it. There's going to be a crackdown on holding the ball. That was mentioned today. Yeah. Here's some fans whinging about that already. Oh, we have to cop it on a Thursday night. Why do we have to be the guinea pigs? We're going to be... Well, fucking hell, it was the coaches. It was our coach. It was Michael Voss that complained about it. They brought it to the attention. All right, why can't we just be professional and smart instead of dumb? Only dumb teams get it wrong. Okay, so instead of like whinging about it, the dumb teams will get it wrong. The good teams will adjust. They'll get in first. They'll be hard at the contest. Okay, and when they tackle with intent. Okay, so I like it. I like the fact, I like the fact that there will adjustments be made, and we have to be better. Okay, we as a group we have to be better. Okay, and I don't want to be the team on the receiving end, because to me that will be dumb. That will be dumb on our behalf. Okay, so if we know the directive from the AFL, but we're getting caught with the ball because we want to hang on to it too long, who's smart? Who's dumb? Okay, we were the ones who will look stupid. So let's stop making excuses. Let's adjust, okay, and get it right. Okay, so Hinkley, Kenny from Camperdown, he's basically said that Connor Rosie won't play, which is a plus. He's a gun. But he's been a little bit down. He's had the hamstring injury that hurt his ankle last week. He played a little bit forward. He looks like he won't play. He hasn't trained. He wasn't in the captain's run today. So that does help. And the other one who helps is Willie Rioli. I think he's probably their only true classy small forward, although Darcy Byrne-Jones is really hard-working and can hit the scoreboard. But Willie Rioli, I feel, is a big out for them as well. He won't play either. They get Charlie Dixon back, and it looks like they're going to bring Ivan Soldo back into the team, which means Jordan Sweet will make way for him. He was soundly beaten by Tristan Cherry last week. Although he was okay in the ruck hit-outs, it was around the ground, which Cherry certainly had an impact for North Melbourne. I think Sweet only had about 7 disposals. And what we do know is TDK, and he's another bloke, that we wouldn't mind managing at some stage. TDK's 25 disposals last week was just super in regards to his follow-up work. Whether Ivan Soldo can do that, whether he can have as much impact as a TDK at ground level, we'll just have to wait and see. But they get some quality back. Dixon always is a bit of a headache, although he is in the twilight of his career. When he's fit and up and about, he's such a strong presence in their front half. And Soldo's a pretty aggressive, tight ruckman. But it won't be the first time that TDK hasn't come up against an aggressive ruckman in 2024. Interesting that Hinkley said that he's expecting real physicality in this game, particularly from us. Hard at the contest. He knows, he's 100% sure that we will bring that. We will bring that physicality. And he said, cheekily, he said they'll play like their coach would like them to play. And that will be pretty physical. And we need to be ready for that. So it almost feels like we could have the upper hand in that respect, although I'll put beast mode on the thumbnail. I'm backing our boys in to be not necessarily tougher around the ball, but just more, I suppose I am. I'm expecting us to be really physical. So Cripps, Kennedy, Hewitt, even Welsh, against Wines, Butters, Drew, Horne-Francis. So, yeah, it's going to be on at the centre bounce and around the stoppage. I think the midfield battle is intriguing, particularly without Connor Rosie. And I think it evens itself out a little bit, because we haven't got Adam Chera. And I'm not comparing Adam Chera to Connor Rosie, but let's face it, Chera's a pretty bloody good player, and Connor Rosie provides them with a lot as well, and he's their captain as well. So, yeah, that makes it really interesting, that midfield battle. Who we will roll through there, any other players, Elijah Hollins might go through there at times, and what Port will do in there. And I suppose the big question for me, and I actually, other than potentially managing a player, I feel like we'll go in unchanged. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we will go in unchanged. Didn't think Motlop, with his 5 touches in the VFL, did enough to show that he's ready to come back in. And I don't know who you drop. I don't know who you drop out of a Kemp or a Cowan after their performances last week. And although Marchbank was managed, I'm not quite sure. So that probably leaves what we're going to do with Alex Chincotta. Who will he go to if we sort of play that similar type structure through the midfield, which we did against the Suns last week? He went to Miller at the stoppages, started outside the centre square, and then went in and shadowed Miller. Who will he go to? Will he go to Jason Horne-Francis? They're both quite explosive. Horne-Francis was really good last week against North Melbourne, has been in pretty good form, and probably is their most dangerous player without Connor Rosie. And he's more your explosive type midfielder rather than endurance-based midfielder, so it could be a role for Chincotta, which leaves the door ajar, I think, for Willem Drew, who's been a little bit down over the last fortnight or so after having a super season. He could go to Walsh. He could potentially go to Cripps, although I do think that Cripps and Wines will probably go head-to-head, leaving Drew to run with maybe a Sam Walsh? Or does Chincotta, in fact, like he did last week, I know Voss said in his press conference last week that Chincotta tagged Miller because they thought he was their most damaging midfielder. I think that's what Voss says, but I actually disagree with that. I think it was more about protecting Cripps and protecting Walsh. So could Chincotta potentially go to Willem Drew? I don't think that will happen, but it's an interesting dynamic anyway. Let's have a look at Port Adelaide's team, because I reckon it's really evenly balanced. I think they brought in players. They brought in the right players. Whether they're going to be big finals performers, they'll play finals this year, but whether they can get A-grade quality games in big games by Asava Radaglia. He was excellent against Nick Larkey last week. Kept him goalless, absolutely dominated him. But this is a different kettle of fish. He's going to be up against Harry or Charlie. So, but he's developing. He's been really important for them. Alir and Brandon Zerk-Thatcher. It's quite a big back line. One of those you would think probably Brandon Zerk-Thatcher will be the third tour, although Alir likes to be the intercept defender. So it'll be interesting to see how they structure that up, who they go to, because we're only going to go in with the two key forwards. And then they just got those guys down back who are really damaging by foot. You know, Dan Houston, if allowed to just roam around and, you know, win his own ball, they feed him. Him and Kane Farrell are brilliant users by foot. And even Ryan Burton, who can be a little bit hit and miss in regards to his defensive actions, they're damaging players by foot. They kick the ball with penetration. It's probably one of my biggest worries with them, is the fact that they do have some power across that half-back line. Their front half without Rioli, they don't necessarily have the fleet of foot smalls down there who you look at and go, geez, they're bloody dangerous. They're going to rely on Darcy Burn-Jones, who's really hard-working and can find the sticks, but he's not your sort of A-grade small forward. And they've got Jackson Mead and also Jed McGinty down there as well. Whether both those boys play, I'm not quite sure. Maybe one of them go out to bring in, say, Charlie Dixon or someone else who's ready to come back in for Port Adelaide. But I think it's their tours that I'm a little bit worried about. You know, I mentioned Dixon before. I think Marshall's really matured. His set kicking's been a little bit off this year. You know, he's such a beautiful kick of the football, but it's been a little bit down. But he's really matured as a key forward. Always dangerous, pretty quick. And Jeremy Finlayson, I actually don't rate. I really don't. I know they use him a little bit in the ruck, but maybe he's the one that goes out. I'm not quite sure, but he's just one of those guys that can just pop up against us, get under our guard. And as much as Kemp and Cowan were terrific last week, this goes up another notch compared to what they faced against the Gold Coast Suns last week. It really does. So we're going to have to be on our game with those. And the one that probably concerns me the most is Mitch Georgiades. He's come back into this team over the last 3 or 4 weeks. He's got so much pace. He's got pace to burn, and he's a big leaper. And yeah, he does worry me. I think we've got the edge in the midfield. I really do. I really think we can dominate that midfield. But if we don't, there is some power in this Port Adelaide team that does concern me, and a lot of it's in the front half. And they've got those running half backs who can use the ball really well. Meters gained, exceptional penetration. So that's about a wrap, guys. I don't want to go much more on about this game. Jason Horne-Francis plays his 51st game. I'd love to stick it up him. I really would. And Orazio Fantasia, if he's selected, will play against his former team. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Are you confident? I must admit, I'm not confident. I'm just looking forward to see what this group of ours has got in them. I believe our heart's in the right spot. I believe we've got good attitude, but essentially, do we get spooked? Are we good enough? What the fuck's wrong with us, on the road in these types of games? Why do we start so strongly and fall away? I want this to be a professional game by our boys to bring home the 4 points. Much important 4 points. Speak soon. That sounded shit, that last bit. Apologise.